I could fire this person because they've done something like this or like that. Or I could say, hey man, yes, you really blew it and it cost me $2 million. And that's really rough.
Hi, I'm Moshe Popak and welcome to Common Denominator. Today we speak with Adrian Koehler. Adrian is a leadership engagement expert and the founder of Take New Ground, a global executive coaching and training firm. He coaches executives and entrepreneurs in the art and science of leadership. Being relentless as a leader. Why is that so important?
If you don't focus and willing to become relentless, then that just means circumstances will always win the day. We might fail, but if you've suffered well, then you've grown in wisdom.
There are people good with their action and their results and congruency, thought, speech, action. And then there are people that aren't, and I'm tending myself, this is right, this is wrong. I don't necessarily find that division.
When I was in your stage, I needed somebody to believe in me. So am I willing to give of myself and be there for other people and have those tough conversations and love people enough to tell them the truth. Great leaders will do that.
Hi, Adrian, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Hey, Moshe, thanks for having me.
So I know you talk a lot about being relentless as a leader. Why is that so important?
Well, if you don't focus and willing to become relentless, then that just means circumstances will always win the day. Because relentlessness is this is happening, whatever's happening, and times are good, that's easy. When times are tough, it's not easy. But when things are coming against you, if I'm relentless, I'm just saying, hey, no matter what, I'm going to find my way through this. And I don't think there's a person that doesn't want their leader to live from that space, which is we shall overcome whatever's happening here. It might knock us down. We might have to, reinvent ourselves. We might fail, but I am better, bigger than my circumstances. That's what relentlessness is for me. And that comes from a spiritual place.
What would you say is the top 2 or 3 most important qualities of a leader?
Yeah. Well, there's about a 10-hour answer to this question for me, but let's see. First off, when times are good, study your success. Study your success, number one, because there's things you're doing that make you successful now that when you're not successful, you might not remember what made the other thing successful, if that makes sense. So first off, I would do that. But actually the thing that pops to my head first, just because of a client I'm dealing with now, is when times are good, we're prompted or probably just tempted to not deal with conflict because we quote unquote don't need to. The results are fine. We're doing great. And that thing's happening with Tom, but you know what? He's doing okay. So I won't talk about it. But 2 things happen is you train people not to be excellent when you don't deal with conflict. You also train yourself to become a master at the art of having tough conversations, because when times are tough, you need that. First off, you need that ability, and that's a practice. And you need that willingness, which comes with courage. And you need the trust. And when times are good, you don't need as much trust. When times are bad, you need trust on the team. And you only build trust by doing hard things together. So that's when I think of team first. When I think of myself first, I always have to keep a good accounting of my own life and what's going on for me, right? How am I doing? Because if you're not tending to your own garden, if you will, your own mental state, your own health, your own wellness, then when you're headed into a time of stress, that's all going to come out and you're going to fail. And you're going to wonder why. It's because you didn't tend to both, your physical body, your spiritual, your emotional. If you're not tending to all that, you need to be in your best shape when times are tough. And I think of about that very holistically. But it ends up coming back to, I would say the biggest thing for any leader is, am I courageous enough to be honest about current reality? Most folks aren't. And when I say honest about it, I mean put language to what's happening. And it's always worse than what you're willing to say, because as a leader, you're responsible and you're a human being. And it seems like if I actually own the mess I have, and I've either allowed it or I've created it, I say that's the case. If I'm the leader and it's happening, I either allowed it or I created it. So I don't leave any space for me to get off the hook. But if I'd be willing to put language to it, I actually build credibility with myself, and I build credibility with my people, because most leaders want to ignore, but then they lose trust because their people know, oh, this person's out to lunch. They don't want to face it. And all the conversation is about how there's no way nothing new can happen because we don't have a now. I guess if we can't have a next till we have a now. We can't have new until we have now. And so It takes some discipline to be really sober, and then not only put your own language to it, but then get the perspective of others around you, because they're going to see things that you don't see, because we're all blind. We all just react to the world the way the world occurs to us, and those are based on our biases and based on our personalities and histories and commitments and all that. So if you find trusted people that can also help you see reality, not only what's happening, but also your contribution to it, that's what a great leader has to do to have resilience and lead people through tough times. Of course, be really crystal clear about the vision and what you're committed to, and then be willing to call people up out of what got them here, right? Because there was a way of being that generated these results, and we can't settle for these results now. We have to supersede. So let's say everybody around the table must transform, must take a leap. Well, what's that look like? And are we willing to do that? And some people are not, right? And the challenge goes up. Some people don't. Some people just want to have a job, and that's okay. But if you work for me and I need more from you and you don't want to give it, that's okay. I need to rehire you, but I need to hire the next version of you, and you want to stay the previous version. That's okay. I love you, but I can't have that one. I need the next one. So most folks aren't willing to have that convo because they're not willing to have that conversation with themselves first.
I love that. I think all of that, you talk about spirituality. I think of, at each stage where I am as the company grows, our main business, real estate investing.
Awesome.
And we're growing. Things are good. A lot of tough conversations, a lot of change out of management teams, executives. All of it is hard. What we do is we're buying properties, distressed properties, foreclosures that other management teams failed.
Yep.
So every day, and that's everything we buy.
Yep.
So I tell the team that every day we're doing things that are hard, that other people, the average, the normal, failed. So if we repeat the rhythm of what everybody was doing, it will equal failure.
Yes.
So we must care.
Yep.
We must have honesty. We must collaborate. But what do you see? I mean, I think so much of that spirituality, of that faith. For you, what is that? What is that spirituality for a leader? What does that need to look like?
Wow, that's a big question. Let's see. Well, for me, spirituality is pretty much whatever's invisible. Whatever's invisible. So, and for me, there's no disconnection between spirituality and relationships. I think those are hand in hand. No matter what, I can speak from my own background, a Christian background. In my experience, I was a pastor for many years. Had a faith. I grew up in a faith background in Southern Illinois, which is a kind of pretty, straight-laced Christian background. Most of that I didn't find that interesting, but I did appreciate and love the orthopraxy, we'd say, versus the orthodoxy. Most folks, when they think of spiritual, they think about ideas and what's right and what's wrong. I don't really care that much about that. I don't think that's a big mystery. I think morality is built into us. So if we're busy fighting about who's good, who's bad, you're missing the point. Instead of what's it take to do good? What's it take to make a difference? That's when I think about spirituality. That's the only thing that matters is output. Not if you're right or if you're wrong or what you believe even. I don't need to know what you believe. I'm watching you. Your language, your results in your life tell me what you believe. And if you say you believe something else than the results in your life, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Because we live who we are, right? So anyway, that's some of the background for me, but for me, it's relationships matter most always. So if I'm coming from a spiritual place, I'm coming from a much more eternal place, I would say it that way as well. I'm playing the long game, and I'm going to care for the person, and I'm going to care for my own legacy. I'm going to care for my family. I'm going to care for the community. I'm going to live beyond just surviving, which the human brain wants to do. Human brain wants to live this moment, make sure I live, make sure, two main agendas of the human brain. One is survive, protect the spacesuit. Second is save energy so I can protect the spacesuit later if I need to. We don't get a vote. I say we don't get a vote on that. And we know that's the neuroscience, but spirituality is saying, hey, there are things worth dying for.
Hmm.
And that might be not so dramatic like physical death, but just I can, I don't need to win this argument. I'm going to invest in this person. I'm going to take a loss on this deal for the sake of the relationship. I could fire this person because they've done something like this or like that. Or I could say, hey, man, yes, you really blew it and it cost me $2 million. And that's really rough. But when I was in your stage, I needed somebody to believe in me. So we're going to chalk this up to learning. Now, what I don't mean is that this can ever happen again. I need you to do some soul searching about the humility you did not possess. You need to be able to ask for help when you needed to ask for help. Because if you're not willing to transform and grow, then we won't be doing this again. So that's more of a spiritual conversation because it's an investment in the person's future. And we're outside the temporal, $2 million is a lot of money, but in the length of life, is it? So, that's my quick answer to your question about how do I live spiritually. I live for the longer term, biggest win. How do I help the most amount of people possible?
Why do I feel I also grew up in a very faith-based, Orthodox Jewish background.
Sure.
And as I get older, I find, and I have friends from all walks of life, and I find that there are people good with their action and their results and congruency, thought, speech, action. And then there are people that aren't, and I'm tending myself where it's like, this is right, this is wrong, and then the boxes, right? Like all wars throughout history have been religious wars. I don't necessarily find that division. Like you were saying, that's right, that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's I guess I'm going through a journey myself. I guess I'm deeply spiritual today.
Yeah.
And moving less and less away from the system of what society tells you. And it's just been forced. It's like your eyes are open, and when you see, it's hard to unsee. And as long as you know that your heart is clean, I find that and then like attracts alike. And I'm around amazing, amazing humans.
Yeah. What are the most attractive characteristics of humans that you're drawn towards?
Truth. No matter good or bad, they're speaking the truth and they're not looking for validation.
Yeah.
They're looking to really run away to look for that peace. They can be from all over, and they've had really, really hard times in their life.
Yeah.
And they're on the second round that they've lived.
Yeah.
Right? They've had you talk about not necessarily a physical death.
Yeah.
But they've had that levels of deeply held beliefs. That's the deaths that I see. In order for you to grow, that's our whole purpose as humans. That's the way I see it. To continue to grow, each one of us in our own journey. So as we peel back those layers of deaths, of deeply held beliefs that we have, and go and jump into the unknown,
yeah,
we're able to breathe one more time.
Sure.
Right? Right?
It's beautiful. I have, as a guy who's gone through plenty of tough things in life, I've found the same thing, is that if you are willing to face it, whatever it is, and get up and go again, it clarifies who's the next round of community, right? Because if you've suffered well, then you've grown in wisdom. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't suffered well, you become more of a fool, right? Because you can't handle the tough times. But if you suffered well, you really become unstoppable. And there's a different texture to the people you're describing. Oh, they've been through things, so they're willing to face more things. So therefore, they're willing to be more honest and more truthful. I think all those things you said are very connected.
Yeah. I know I could just make reference. Next month, I'll be married 20 years. I have 11 children, and I know, thank you.
11 children.
Yes.
Wow.
There's nothing normal about that. And, right. Right. It's everything in between. And whether it's with my children or my wife, That's the only thing that's my anchor. It's the real conversations. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Every day we're having that. And I think of, you mentioned being in your top shape as a leader, because I know, right, even to my wife, to my children, we have several hundred employees in our company. You know, those life hacks or those practices, what do you see as for top leaders? What do you see as like top, for that work for you, or that you've seen that work for leaders to have that strength? It's lonely, it's hard, but you're talking about, right? You're telling me the brain is wired to comfort, to survival.
Yeah.
But as a leader, you're constantly pushing the other way.
Yeah.
So what are ways to get that gas or that fuel that we can be strong in tough times?
Yeah. Several things come to mind. So first off, a great leader is really honest with themselves. So there has to be a mechanism by which that's true. Most great leaders I know have some kind of meditative practice, some kind of journaling practice, definitely have. They've decided, because the mantra of it's lonely at the top, that's true. And in the sense that we had that experience where most people don't get what it's like to be me. Now, that's pretty universal for humans, but I think especially exacerbated with top leaders, because it's truth. They don't know the weight of it. And they don't know the insecurities that come with the weight and the pressures that come with the weight and like all of that. And if you have a family, especially if you have a wife and 11 children, just the pull on every direction. And you're a heartfelt guy, obviously. So you want to love all your kids. I don't know how you make sure all 11 kids get your love and your wife. That's just, the pull of that. So you must have some kind of space where you also take care of yourself, which is really challenging, I think, especially if you're a generous leader like yourself, because you can end up feeling like a martyr, feeling like always giving, and not refilling your own cup. So you have to have a way to do that, whether it's journaling, meditating, your own time and space, giving yourself permission to like, hey, once a day, I'm going to go on a 20-minute walk by myself just to get out of the noise. And you might feel like there's no room for that, but there's no room if you don't do that.
No, I relate to that. I think you're spot on. And I've had to learn two things, which only came later. And I think that people can relate to this, because a lot of people that I've met, to be more proud of yourself. And you can only, right, when the plane's going down, you have to put your mask on first. And, I've had some health complications. And in that was like, boom, signal. You must do this. You care about these people. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Yep.
You have to do that in order to love more, to give more. But I've had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah. So, well, and to your point about, being proud of yourself, it's also being gracious with yourself. I think there's a expectation, if you're the leader, to always have it all together, and to kind of, especially if you're a driven guy like you are, obviously, with the size of your business. And if you're a driven guy, it's like there's natural pressure to just, when hit every ball, be perfect. And that's obviously not possible. So it's not even a fun game. I used to say to myself, ideal is a bad deal. Because the pressure that you live under, it's like you always use this metaphor. It's like, people that are leaders usually like walking the tight wire, because there's a lot to do in a little bit amount of time. We got to do it right. And there's a way, it's kind of thrilling. The thrill of, can we pull it off, is there. It's like adrenalizing. But you got to view that you are on the tight wire, which is thrilling, but it's only 2 feet off the ground. So if you miss a step, no big deal. Just get back up and go again. Not like I'm going to die if it doesn't. Like if I mess up, I'm going to die. That's where a lot of people, especially if they live under this pressure, they come from religious backgrounds, especially, that ironically aren't the most gracious. That's a whole nother conversation too. But so my last point would be, at least have a person, could be a spouse, maybe not, that you can just be really unfiltered with. And you don't have to like perform at all. Because if you're a leader and you're in front of 250 employees, there's a version you must be for them. They need you to be a certain version, not like you're faking it, but if you don't feel good, you got to still, pep yourself up. You know what that feels like. So you need to have at least a person, maybe a few, that are just there for you no matter what.
I'm curious because I can just hear from the interview that you've lived many lives.
Yeah.
What was it at this point? Because this is a function of you, it seems, giving back in a way that's uniquely yours and your style.
Yeah.
What's the background that got you to this point of coaching?
Yeah. So now I coach founders of companies and align leadership teams and go into very complicated situations with complicated, brilliant people. And I love it. I love it. And this is my calling, that's for sure. But to your point, yeah, I didn't start here. I've never had a corporate job in my life, never taken a business course in my life. I was a small town kid. Parents were both school teachers, salt of the earth. I grew up in an episode of Friday Night Lights and went on to play football in college and thought I was going to go be a doctor like my grandmother wanted me to, and realized I actually don't want to go do that. But I do want to travel the world, and I had definitely a view of the world where I wanted to go make a difference. Some of that was from my faith background or just the conversations behind it. So I ended up getting a nursing degree. Just to be able to go travel, because the medical side was easy for me. But the people side was the most fun, which is, I worked at a children's hospital in Chicago. So if a family is in a room and their kid's on the brink, there's no worse day of their life. And to be able to step into that space and create peace for them and create education for them and joy even and perspective and help people say what they need to say and then help them participate in a way that helps. Just a huge opportunity. And I was really good at it and became really good at it. And I would just say, give me the toughest families, I'll go, and just because for some reason, when I was 23, I knew if I can get good at this, I could do anything. Because this is like the thing most people run from is conflict and crisis. And if I learn how to run into it and be a peacemaker, it'll set me apart. So I did that for a good while. Then I was in Chicago, moved out to Los Angeles. I caught wind of this faith community called Mosaic. This guy named Erwin, who, Christian guy, but was a revolutionary and just pissed everybody off, which I liked. And just spoke about how, the church isn't here for us. We're here for the world. And so it's all about faith and action and taking risks, which nobody was talking about that. So I came out and I worked here, and I actually built all these teams to mobilize people into the city. So spent the next 8 years of my life working with 2,000 volunteers a year to go make a difference in the streets of LA and the tough environments and taking people overseas. And I could, when Haiti happened or Katrina happened or when Pakistan's underwater or dozens of trips to Africa, taking people into tough situations to go give of themselves. That's what that season of my life was. And then I met a guy who wanted to give a lot of money away. And he asked me to start his foundation for him. Long story, really short. We ended up running leadership trainings in prison with murderers. So I met a guy, hired a guy that was an expert at this. So we would be locked in a room with 30 murderers, guys that had murdered someone, and challenging them to move out of the victim mindset into the responsible mindset, which is where freedom is. And that was transforming. And we trained them how to be trainers. And some of those guys are still good friends of mine. They all got out on parole the next time they were up for the parole board. And one of them actually has a nonprofit that's just written into the California state budget for $30 million because of their effectiveness at keeping people out of prison. So did that, and then I started getting into this work and realized we're all criminals, and some of us are just more arrestable than others. And we all have the same needs. It's all the human conversation. And this is very fun to get to do this. Although people put me in like a consultant, bucket, which is usually consultants come in and try to recreate the mechanism and recreate the system. And sometimes that's necessary. Or recreate the strategy, and that's great, but it's usually not those things that are causing the issues. It's the human condition, it's the human conversation, it's the unhad conflict, it's the lack of courage that's creating the issues. So if you're willing to both, I call it fierce advocacy. So I'm naturally an advocate for people, a champion for people. I want you to be successful, really do. And if I'm with a client, you probably even more than they do. And I'm willing to be fierce to do it. So I'm not precious. I can take any bit of feedback at all. I'm a work in progress. I'm a mixed bag. And so I want to create that environment where there's a fierceness. Can we just get over ourselves? Like stop trying to survive and get into what's needed to make it happen. So all that trained me to be willing to die and get up and go again. And, it helps. I got 2 kids too, man. It's like I say to them, hey, I want to be the best dad on the planet, and I know I'm not. So we're going to consistently be in a conversation about how I can be the best dad for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be in a conversation with you about how you can become the best human being you're crafted to be. And I'm not giving up on you, and please don't give up on me.
Yeah. That's normal, actually.
Yeah.
That's you go there. And yes, I am being pulled in every direction. I think that, for instance, my son, I asked him something a couple times, and he admitted to me that he lied.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I still love you, but it doesn't matter what you do. You're my son, so I'll love you unconditionally. But we gotta have real conversations.
Right.
It's a learning, right? Constantly learning. And I think that on the highest levels, to your point, that I love that we're more arrestable or not. I've met, right, that point, everybody should understand, because we're so hard on ourselves, judging ourselves, judging other people. That ripple effect, 8 billion people in the world, is the reason why we're not connecting more, right? We're not letting anybody know it's not like that. It's all a lie. It's all not true, because we have both sides. Each one of us has, you want to run and party and do all this, but yeah, you're trying. Everybody's just trying. And I'm sure you've seen the top leaders, that's just what it is. We have all sides. We have, in Judaism, we talk about the animalistic side, soul. I mean, what we have in our body, which has come from the dirt, from the earth, which is nothing, right? And then spirit. So in its essence, the whole life is that conflict. And to say we don't have that conflict, that's not true.
Yep.
We have that. And if you have energy, it's such energy. We're frequency and vibration. So that's all it is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What is that too? It's the nefesh and the shem?
And the ruach, it's the ruach, which is the breath of God. That's right. And you could use that as an example, but I know there are days, every single person has good days, and every single person has bad days, and there's no good or bad, actually. It's just conversations.
That's right.
It's like this is dominating, that's dominating. And again, there is no perfection, and anybody that believes they know, I just run the opposite way.
Exactly.
I've done so much in my life, and I realize more today. I just had a meeting today, and I'm just telling them there's just unknown. And that's actually the truth.
That's right. And that's comforting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you can be that honest with yourself and with people, it's like, hey, there's a lot of unknown here, but our relationship will help us navigate the unknown. If somebody's telling that they do know, they're lying. And it means that if I assert that something's true and have no room for my ignorance, then I will spend all my time trying to be right about that. And then trying to prove it to you that I was right. This is why people cover their lie and cover themselves up in business instead of just confess.
Yeah, just say it. But I want to ask you, Adrian, from your journey, looking back today, what is something that you're deeply grateful for?
There have been people in my life that have seen me. I, as a youngster, saw some talent. I was pretty raw, but they believed in me early. So I'm really grateful for that. People that saw me beyond my experience, but saw something there and fueled it. Also, people that have, when I talk about having people in your life just to hear you out, People that have loved me way beyond I've loved myself, because I've driven myself most of my life and had that, you better get it right, chip on the shoulder type thing. Like I have to. I'm a younger brother, and I was like small, and and we're an athletic family, so I had to work twice as hard as him. But anyway, that kind of younger brother thing. And then people just looked me in the eyes and said, hey man, no matter, you're good, man. I'm with you. There's been guys like that have just been guys in the foxhole trenches and have believed in me and stood by me during the toughest times. So really grateful for that, for sure. That's what comes to mind. I think maybe just on the theme of this conversation, just folks that are ride or die type people.
Yeah, that's actually the only people, again, when it's good, it's good. Doesn't matter. It's when it's tough. That's what you wish for everybody in the world, that they should have that person, 1, 2, 3 people like that. And what is the common denominator, would you say, of great leaders?
Courage. And I don't mean hard driving, take the hill. That's part of courage, is being adventurous and being a pioneer. But courage is really to face reality. And that's both in circumstances and even harder in relationships. So am I willing to give of myself and willing to get off of myself and be there for other people and have those tough conversations and love people enough to tell them the truth? Great leaders will do that. And if you do that really well, then surround yourself with people that are committed to learning and growing and getting up and going again. It really can't be stopped.
I want to say thank you, Adrian. This has been really fantastic. I really appreciate it. How can people be in touch with you, find you on social, or get your coaching programs?
Yeah. Adrian.K on Instagram if you're interested. TakeNewGround.com is the website. We do have, if you're a leader looking to kind of take a fresh look at yourself, and maybe there might be stuff you want to deal with but don't have this time and space for it, or you don't really want to go the therapy route, which I don't blame you. Nothing wrong with therapy. We have a program that's called the Revenant Process. It's a 4-day deep dive. They say it's 10 years of therapy in a weekend. You can go to takenewground.com and public trainings and look for the Revenant Process, the coming back from process. And we'll have some in the fall that you guys can check out and come see us, or reach out to me. We'll have a conversation about it.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you.
Good to be with you, man.
Likewise. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Adrian. If you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.